Welcome back. Good to have you with us. South Africa Auto Week is coming up next month. It's going to focus on investment in new energy vehicles, or EVs, for this discussion. It's a great challenge for a country with unsustainable power supply, as we all know. The automotive industry, also a significant contributor to our GDP, and employs over 100,000 people across vehicle and component manufacturers. So how ready are we for the EV evolution? Let's talk to the CEO of the sector association, Naamsa, Mikel Mabasa, joining us this morning. Hello to you, Michael. Good to have you back on eNCA. Always good to speak to you. It's a big issue when it comes to EV in our country. We don't have the infrastructure, and it still seems very elitist. It's got to be one of the biggest issues. Good morning.
Good morning, Gareth, and good to be with you this morning. Absolutely. Like any other technology that is coming through, obviously there would be some teething challenges. You'd recall some 10, 20 years ago when the telephone, particularly the cell phone industry, came into the market. We obviously had some challenges in terms of making the infrastructure available so that the network is available to all South Africans. Today, obviously that network has been rolled out and it's very effective, and we are now moving it even to 5G and also to some fiber connectivity. And we believe very strongly that the automotive industry will also go through a similar journey, where we are certainly going to be investing quite significantly during the first phase in terms of infrastructure rollout, so that we can be able to make sure that when we roll out these vehicles at an industrial scale, South Africa is ready to be able to take them on.
And we can roll it out at an industrial scale, but unlike cell phones these days, electronic vehicles, or EVs, are still upwards of 1 million rand, 1.9 million rand. Cell phones don't cost nearly that much. So where are we on the industrial scale? Most of us can't afford these cars, Michael.
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly, I think this is what we are certainly working on currently, because the brands that we have in South Africa in particular are relatively very, very expensive brands. We are obviously engaging with all the manufacturers to be able to bring in vehicles that are affordable. We've seen countries like China, India, that have already started rolling out very cheaper models. And certainly in South Africa, that's the direction that we're certainly going to be taking. There's no doubt about it, particularly when those vehicles are also produced locally, because remember, South Africa is a vehicle producing country, and we want to make sure that we are able to produce vehicles that are affordable to our people as much as possible.
We also need to kick the tin a little further down the road. I had an interview with the Auto Trader CEO, George Manny, last week, a pre-recorded interview for eNCA Drive. And we were talking about the issue for South Africa come 2035, the year 2035 and beyond. We export a lot of vehicles. The issue, Michael, and I'm sure you can talk to this, is that if we don't start producing electronic vehicles, the European market isn't going to want our cars. They're moving full electric. We're still producing ICEs.
Absolutely, and that's why we are currently working very, very closely with our government so that we can really be able to make sure that we accelerate not only policy formulation, but certainly the work that we need to do to recalibrate the 7 manufacturing plants that we have in the country so that they can be able to make sure that they produce new energy vehicles sooner rather than later. Currently, we've got, out of the 7 plants that we have, 2 of them already are producing new energy vehicles, although those are hybrid, they're not battery electric. We are certainly moving into that direction. And I think all of us working with government, with labor and the industry, we have agreed very, very strongly that we need to move at an accelerated pace so that we can make sure that we are not left as a country.
Yeah, I thought you were about to say we're not left in the dark, which would have led me very nicely to my next question as well. It's one thing for Eskom to leave us in the dark because of all the blackouts we're experiencing. Now you bring in EVs into the discussion as well, and Eskom could leave us standing on the side of the highway as well, regardless of what amount we paid for our car. How do we get around the power issue in our countries for electronic vehicles?
Well, we're working very closely with independent power producers currently, because there's no reason why, for an example, if you look at what we call a public charging infrastructure, that infrastructure cannot be rolled out using new energy sources. So we are working with independent power producers so that we can really be able to make sure that element is addressed very, very quickly. Because for us, Gareth, it is also important for South Africans to also acknowledge the fact that we can, on the one hand, we cannot just bring in electric vehicles that are going to be, assisting us in terms of cutting down, the emissions on our roads. But also, power those particular vehicles using dirty coal. So we really want to be able to make sure that the net zero debate is not just only in terms of the vehicle itself, but also in terms of the manner in which the vehicles are produced and also the manner in which those vehicles are powered. So we're looking at a very holistic approach so that we can really be able to make sure that the introduction of new energy vehicles is actually, cutting across the entire value chain as opposed to just one element of it.
Yeah, and we'll talk about those elements as well, Michael. I'm sure I'm going to talk to you again on the 9th of September because it's a World EV Day. I'm going to be doing live broadcasts from an electric vehicle driving around Johannesburg. Michael, I suspect I will be talking to you again from inside that car in a couple of weeks' time, see what it's like to actually drive an electric vehicle and see if I run out of power. We'll see what it's going to be like. CEO of Sector Association Naamsa, Mikel Mabasa, talking to us about the South African Auto Week, which is coming up in a couple of weeks from now.